Listen, beautiful soul. I need you to stop what you're doing right now and really hear what I'm about to share with you. There's something stirring in the spiritual realm that you need to know about. Your soulmate, yes, that person God has been preparing specifically for you is on the verge of a breakthrough that will change everything. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. They need you to create sacred space first. They need you to be alone with God so that when they finally confess what's been burning in their heart, you'll be spiritually positioned to receive it. I'm not talking about some fairy tale romance or wishful thinking. I'm talking about the divine orchestration that happens when two souls align with God's perfect timing. After walking with thousands of people through their love journeys and seeing God work miracles in relationships, I can tell you with absolute certainty something powerful is about to unfold in your life. But you have to understand the spiritual dynamics at play here. Your future spouse is fighting battles you can't see. They're wrestling with fears, breaking generational patterns, and overcoming wounds that have kept them from stepping into the fullness of what God has for them. And right now, they're preparing to be completely vulnerable with you about things they've never shared with another soul. But here's the key. God is calling you into a season of solitude first, not because He wants you to be lonely, but because He wants you to be whole. He wants you to understand your worth, your identity, and your calling before this divine connection manifests. When someone is about to bare their soul to you, you need to be spiritually strong enough to hold that space with wisdom and love. This isn't about playing games or manipulation tactics. This is about divine preparation. If you've been feeling that pull to spend more time alone lately, if you've been sensing God calling you away from distractions and into His presence, listen to that voice. Your soulmate's confession is coming, but they need to know they're revealing their heart to someone who is grounded in Christ, secure in their identity, and ready to love without judgment. Before we dive deep into these powerful truths, hit that subscribe button right now. I promise you, by the end of this message, you'll have a completely new understanding of how God is positioning you for the love story He's been writing since before you were born. Number 1, God is preparing your heart through sacred solitude. Right now, God is calling you into a holy separation that most people completely misunderstand. They think being alone means being abandoned, but I'm here to tell you something that will shift your entire perspective. This season of solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation for the most authentic love you've ever experienced. Your soulmate is watching you from a distance, and they're seeing something in you that takes their breath away. They're seeing a person who isn't desperately chasing after relationships or settling for shallow connections. They're seeing someone who has learned to be complete in Christ alone. And that level of wholeness is what's drawing them to you like a magnet. Think about it. Would you rather have someone fall in love with your neediness or your completeness? Would you rather have them choose you because they feel sorry for you, or because they recognize the God-given radiance that comes from a person who knows their worth? Your soulmate has been in relationships before where people needed them to fill voids, to be their source of happiness, to complete them. And they're exhausted from trying to be someone's everything. But you're different. You've learned to find your joy in the Lord. You've learned to hear God's voice in the silence. You've learned that your identity isn't wrapped up in whether or not someone chooses you, because the King of Kings already chose you before the foundation of the world. This sacred solitude is teaching you to love yourself the way Christ loves you unconditionally, completely, without reservation. And when your soulmate finally confesses their heart to you, they won't be confessing to someone who needs them to feel worthy. They'll be confessing to someone who already knows they're worthy. They'll be confessing to someone who has learned to commune with God in the quiet places. They'll be confessing to someone who radiates the kind of peace that only comes from deep intimacy with the Father. Your soulmate is preparing their confession right now, and they're praying for courage. They're praying that when they finally reveal the depths of their heart, they'll be met with the same level of spiritual maturity they see growing in you. They need to know that you can handle their truth, their past, their dreams, their fears, and the only way you can handle all of that is if you've learned to handle your own heart first. God is using this time alone to heal wounds you didn't even know you had. He's using this season to establish patterns of prayer, worship, and intimacy with Him that will become the foundation of your marriage. Because here's what most people don't understand. The quality of your relationship with God directly determines the quality of your relationship with your spouse. Your soulmate sees this truth in you, and it's what's giving them the courage to prepare their heart for complete vulnerability. Number 2, they're breaking generational patterns and need your prayers. Your soulmate is in the middle of the most intense spiritual battle of their life right now. They're not just preparing to confess their feelings to you, they're breaking chains that have held their family line captive for generations, and they need your intercession more than you realize. Every family has patterns of dysfunction when it comes to love and relationships. Maybe it's the pattern of abandonment, where people leave when things get difficult. Maybe it's the pattern of emotional unavailability, where people protect their hearts by never fully opening up. Maybe it's the pattern of toxic communication, where people tear each other down instead of building each other up. Your soulmate is currently at war with these generational strongholds. They're having to unlearn everything they thought they knew about love. They're having to reprogram their mind to believe that healthy, godly love is actually possible. And the enemy is fighting them hard because he knows that when they break these patterns, they won't just be free, their future children will be free too. This is why they need you to be alone with God right now. Because in the secret place of prayer, you're waging warfare on their behalf. Every time you worship instead of worry, you're breaking assignments that have been sent against your future together. Every time you choose to trust God's timing instead of forcing your own, you're giving your soulmate the spiritual space they need to do the deep work. Your soulmate comes from a family where real vulnerability was punished, where opening your heart meant getting hurt, where expressing deep emotion was seen as weakness. And now they're having to learn that with you, it's safe to be completely authentic. They're watching how you handle your own emotions. They're watching how you respond to disappointment. They're watching how you treat people who can't do anything for you. And what they're seeing is giving them hope that maybe, just maybe, it's safe to love you with everything they have. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. Your soulmate is in counseling right now, whether that's with a pastor, a therapist, or just deep personal time with God, working through layers of hurt that go back decades. They're learning to forgive family members who modeled unhealthy relationships. They're learning to forgive themselves for settling for less than God's best in the past. They're learning that their worth isn't determined by their mistakes, but by God's unchanging love. And they're preparing to share all of this with you. Not because they want to burden you with their baggage, but because they want to be completely honest about the journey that brought them to this place of readiness. Your prayers during this season are literally shifting the spiritual atmosphere around them. When you worship God in your alone time, you're creating a canopy of protection over their healing process. When you declare God's promises over your future marriage, you're speaking life into areas of their heart that have been dead for years. Your soulmate can feel the difference in the spiritual realm. They can sense that something has shifted. They feel stronger, more hopeful, more confident that God really does have someone special for them, and that someone is you. Number 3, your standards are inspiring their transformation. The way you've been living your life during this season of preparation is literally inspiring your soulmate to become the person God created them to be. They've been watching you from a distance, and what they see is changing them from the inside out. They see someone who refuses to settle for mediocre love. They see someone who would rather be alone than be with the wrong person. They see someone who has standards rooted in Scripture, not in desperation, and for the first time in their life, they're not intimidated by someone's standards, they're inspired by them. Your soulmate has been in relationships before where the bar was set so low that they didn't have to grow, didn't have to change, didn't have to become better, and those relationships left them feeling empty and unfulfilled. But you're different. You've set a standard that challenges them to rise to their highest potential, not through condemnation or criticism, but through the silent power of your example. When they see how you honor God with your time, they're inspired to examine how they're spending their own time. When they see how you speak life over your circumstances instead of complaining, they're learning to transform their own thought patterns. When they see how you treat your body as a temple and your mind as sacred space, they're motivated to take better care of themselves. You're not preaching at them or trying to change them. You're simply living in such alignment with God's will that it's awakening something in them they didn't even know existed. Your soulmate has been praying for someone who would love them for who they are, but inspire them to become who God created them to be. And that's exactly what you're doing without even trying. They're watching how you handle rejection, how you respond to delays, how you maintain your joy even when things don't go according to plan, and they're thinking to themselves, this is the kind of person I want to build a life with. They're seeing maturity in you that they've never seen before in anyone they've been attracted to. They're seeing emotional intelligence, spiritual depth, and genuine character, and it's making them want to become worthy of the love you have to offer. Your soulmate is currently working on themselves in ways they never have before. They're reading books about healthy relationships. They're going to therapy to heal old wounds. They're developing new habits and breaking destructive patterns. They're learning to communicate with love instead of reacting in anger. They're studying what it means to be a godly spouse and parent. And all of this transformation is happening because your standards have shown them what's possible. You've shown them that love doesn't have to be toxic, dramatic, or painful. You've shown them that two whole people can come together and create something beautiful without losing themselves in the process. They're preparing to confess to you not just their feelings, but their commitment to being the person you deserve. They want you to know that they're taking this seriously, that they're not just interested in having a good time or a casual relationship. They're interested in building something eternal with you. When they finally confess everything, part of what they'll be sharing is how your example has changed their entire perspective on what love can be. They'll tell you about the moments when they watched you choose faith over fear, hope over discouragement, love over bitterness. And they'll tell you how those moments convinced them that you're not just someone they're attracted to, you're someone they want to become like. Number 4, divine timing is aligning. Every detail of your love story, God's timing in your love story, is so precise, so perfectly orchestrated, that when you finally see the full picture, you'll be amazed at how every delay, every disappointment, every moment of waiting was actually divine positioning. Your soulmate is about to confess everything to you, but they needed this time to become ready for the intensity of love that God has planned for you both, and you needed this time to develop the spiritual maturity to steward such a powerful connection. Think about where you were a year ago versus where you are now. The person you were 12 months ago couldn't have handled the depth of love that's coming your way. You weren't ready for the level of vulnerability your soulmate is preparing to share with you. You hadn't developed the emotional intelligence to navigate the beautiful complexity of a spirit-led relationship. But now, you're different. You've been through seasons that taught you patience, faith, and surrender. You've learned to trust God's voice above your own emotions. You've developed discernment that will protect your relationship from enemy attacks. Meanwhile, your soulmate has been on their own journey of preparation. They've been learning lessons they couldn't have learned if you would come together too early. They've been developing character, breaking ungodly soul ties, and establishing their own personal relationship with Christ. If you had met them before this season, they wouldn't have been ready to love you the way you deserve to be loved. They would have been operating from wounds instead of wholeness, from fear instead of faith. But God, in His infinite wisdom, has been preparing you both simultaneously. Every prayer you've prayed for your future spouse, God has been answering by working in their heart. Every time you've chosen to wait on His timing instead of settling for less, you've given Him permission to continue the preparation process. Your soulmate has been going through experiences that are shaping them into the partner God designed them to be specifically for you. They've been learning your love language before they even know what it is. They've been developing the skills and character traits that will complement yours perfectly. They've been breaking free from relationships and situations that were hindering their growth. And now, all of these preparation threads are coming together in perfect harmony. The timing of their confession isn't random. It's not based on their emotions or their desires alone. It's based on divine alignment. God has been orchestrating circumstances in both of your lives so that when you finally come together, everything will flow with supernatural ease. Your career is positioning you for the life you'll build together. Your living situation is preparing to change at exactly the right moment. Your financial situation is aligning with God's plan for your joint future. Your family dynamics are shifting to make room for this new chapter. Your soulmate can sense this alignment happening. They can feel that the season is shifting. They're experiencing breakthrough in areas where they've been stuck for years. Doors are opening for them professionally, relationally, spiritually, and they know that this breakthrough is connected to you. They know that God is preparing them to be able to provide for and protect the love story He's writing. When they confess everything to you, part of what they'll be sharing is how they've watched God orchestrate every detail. They'll tell you about the moments when they almost gave up on love, and how God whispered your name to their spirit. They'll share how certain songs, scriptures, or prophetic words have confirmed that you're the one. They'll reveal how God has been showing them specific details about your future together. The timing of this confession will be so perfect that you'll both know without a doubt that this is God's doing, not coincidence. Number 5. They're preparing to reveal their prophetic dreams about you. Your soulmate has been having dreams about you that they've never shared with another soul, and they're finally ready to reveal these divine revelations that have been confirming your connection in the spiritual realm. These aren't just wishful thinking or fantasy. These are prophetic dreams that God has been giving them to prepare their heart and confirm that you're the one He has chosen for them. For months, maybe even years, your soulmate has been waking up from dreams so vivid, so detailed, so filled with God's presence that they knew they were more than just dreams. In these dreams, they've seen glimpses of your life together. They've seen your wedding day with details so specific that when it happens, you'll both be amazed at the accuracy. They've seen your future home, your children, the ministry you'll build together. They've seen moments of intimacy, not just physical, but emotional and spiritual intimacy that made them understand what true partnership looks like. These dreams have been their secret source of hope during the difficult seasons. When they went through breakups with the wrong people, these dreams reminded them that God had someone special waiting for them. When they felt discouraged about love, these dreams renewed their faith that their story wasn't over. When they questioned whether they would ever find someone who truly understood them, these dreams whispered your name to their spirit. But they've been afraid to share these dreams because they didn't want to sound crazy or presumptuous. They didn't want to put pressure on you or make you feel uncomfortable. They wanted to wait until they were certain that what God showed them was actually coming to pass. And now they're certain. Your soulmate has been seeing confirmations everywhere. They've been running into people who know you. They've been hearing your name in conversations. They've been guided to places where you've been. They've been seeing signs and symbols that appeared in their dreams, showing up in their waking life. And each confirmation has given them more courage to believe that what God showed them is real. In their dreams, they've seen how you respond to challenges together. They've seen how you support each other through difficult seasons. They've seen the way you pray together, worship together, and seek God's will together. They've seen how your personalities complement each other perfectly. They've seen how your individual gifts and talents combine to create something powerful for the kingdom. These prophetic dreams have been preparing them emotionally and spiritually for the depth of connection you'll share. They've been able to see beyond surface attraction to the soul connection that exists between you. They've been able to understand that what they feel for you is more than chemistry, it's divine calling. Your soulmate has also been having dreams where God shows them how to love you specifically. They've seen your love language, your communication style, your emotional needs. They've seen the areas where you've been hurt in the past and how they can help heal those places. They've seen your dreams and goals and how they can support and encourage you. These dreams have been like a divine training ground, preparing them to be the partner you need. When they finally confess everything to you, they're going to share these dreams in detail. They're going to tell you about the first dream they had about you, long before they ever spoke to you. They're going to describe the emotions they felt when they woke up, knowing that God had just shown them their future spouse. They're going to share how these dreams sustained them through lonely seasons and gave them hope when they wanted to give up on love. And when they share these dreams with you, you're going to recognize details from your own prayers, your own prophetic words, your own dreams. You're going to realize that God has been speaking to both of you simultaneously, preparing your hearts for this divine connection. The accuracy of these dreams will be one of the confirmations that what you're experiencing together is truly ordained by God. Your soulmate is ready to be completely transparent about the supernatural way God has been preparing them for you. Number 6. Your emotional healing is attracting their honesty. The deep inner work you've been doing during this season of solitude is creating a safe space that's making your soulmate feel secure, enough to be completely honest about their past, their struggles, and their heart. They've been watching how you handle your own healing journey, and it's giving them courage to believe that you can handle theirs too. Your soulmate has secrets they've never shared with anyone, not because they're trying to deceive or manipulate, but because they've never met someone who felt safe enough to trust with their deepest truths. They've been in relationships before where their vulnerability was used against them. They've opened their heart to people who responded with judgment, criticism, or rejection. They've learned to protect themselves by keeping certain parts of their story locked away. But you're different. The way you've been processing your own pain, forgiving people who hurt you, and choosing healing over bitterness is showing them that you understand grace. You understand that everyone has a story. You understand that people's past doesn't define their future. You understand that God specializes in redemption. Your soulmate has been struggling with shame about certain areas of their life. Maybe they've made financial mistakes that they're embarrassed about. Maybe they've been in toxic relationships that left them with trust issues. Maybe they've struggled with addiction, mental health challenges, or family dysfunction. Maybe they've made decisions they regret or walked through seasons they're not proud of. But as they've watched you navigate your own healing journey with such grace and maturity, they're starting to believe that maybe their past doesn't disqualify them from love. Maybe their struggles don't make them unworthy of the beautiful future God has planned. You've been demonstrating through your own life that healing is possible, that change is real, and that God's love is bigger than anyone's mistakes. And this demonstration is what's giving your soulmate the courage to prepare their confession. They're ready to tell you about the therapy sessions, the counseling, the inner work they've been doing. They're ready to share how they've been breaking generational patterns and healing from childhood wounds. They're ready to be honest about their triggers, their insecurities, and the areas where they still need growth. But they're also ready to share how this healing journey has prepared them to love you better. They want you to know that they're not coming to you as a broken person looking to be fixed. They're coming to you as a person who has done the work to become whole, healthy, and ready for a mature relationship. They've learned to take responsibility for their emotions instead of expecting their partner to manage them. They've learned to communicate their needs clearly instead of expecting their partner to read their mind. They've learned to give love freely instead of keeping score or trying to manipulate outcomes. Your soulmate has been in relationships before where both people brought unhealed wounds and created more trauma for each other. But they've learned that hurt people and healed people heal people. They want you to know that they've done everything possible to make sure that when they love you, they're loving you from a place of wholeness, not woundedness. When they confess everything to you, they're going to be incredibly honest about their journey. They're going to share the specific ways God has been healing them and preparing them for you. They're going to tell you about the moments when they wanted to give up on healing because it was too painful, and how thoughts of you gave them the motivation to keep going. They're going to share how your example of emotional maturity has inspired them to face their own issues, instead of running from them. And they're going to ask for your patience and grace as they continue growing. Because they understand that healing is a lifelong journey, not a destination. Your emotional healing is creating a safe harbor where your soulmate can dock their ship and finally rest from the storms they've been weathering alone. Number 7, they're breaking soul ties to be completely available for you right now. Your soulmate is in the process of severing every unhealthy soul tie and emotional entanglement that could interfere with the pure, God-ordained connection you're meant to share together. This is one of the most difficult but necessary parts of their preparation, and they need your prayers and patience as they navigate this delicate process. Soul ties are spiritual, connections that form between people through emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, or traumatic bonding. Some soul ties are healthy and God-ordained, like the bond between spouses or the connection between parents and children. But other soul ties are toxic and need to be broken for a person to be free to love again. Your soulmate has been in relationships where these unhealthy connections were formed. Maybe they were in a long-term relationship where they shared dreams, plans, and deep intimacy, and even though it ended, part of their heart remained attached to that person. Maybe they were in a situationship where the boundaries were unclear, but emotional and physical intimacy created ties that are still affecting their ability to fully open their heart. Maybe they experienced trauma bonding with someone toxic, where the cycle of hurt and makeup created an addictive connection that's been hard to break. Or maybe they have unresolved emotional connections with family members whose opinions and approval they're still seeking in unhealthy ways. These soul ties have been like invisible chains, keeping your soulmate from being completely available for the love God has planned. But God has been showing them that before they can confess their heart to you, they need to be completely free. They need to be able to love you without comparing you to someone from their past. They need to be able to give you their whole heart, not just the pieces that aren't still attached to someone else. They need to be able to make decisions based on what's best for your relationship, not based on fear of disappointing people from their past. Breaking soul ties isn't just about ending communication with certain people, though sometimes that's necessary. It's about releasing emotional attachments, forgiving past hurts, and choosing to no longer allow past relationships to influence present decisions. Your soulmate has been doing this work in prayer, in counseling, and through intentional steps of forgiveness and release. They've been having difficult conversations with people from their past, setting boundaries, and making it clear that they're moving forward in a new direction. They've been deleting phone numbers, unfollowing social media accounts, and removing physical reminders of past relationships from their space. They've been praying for the people they've been connected to, blessing them and releasing them to find their own path to healing and happiness. This process has been painful because breaking soul ties often involves grieving what could have been, letting go of familiar patterns, and facing the fear of being alone. But your soulmate has been willing to do this work because they understand that you deserve someone who is completely available. You deserve someone whose heart isn't divided. You deserve someone who can be fully present with you, without ghosts from the past interfering with your connection. As they've been breaking these unhealthy ties, your soulmate has been experiencing a new level of freedom and clarity. They're feeling lighter, more peaceful, and more excited about the future than they have in years. They're starting to understand what it means to have a clean slate, a fresh start, and a heart that's completely available for love. And this freedom is what's giving them the courage to prepare their confession for you. They want you to know that when they tell you they love you, those words are coming from a heart that's been completely cleansed and consecrated for you, alone. They want you to know that they've done everything possible to ensure that when they give themselves to you, they're giving you all of themselves, not just the leftover pieces. When they confess everything to you, part of what they'll share is the specific soul ties they've broken and the freedom they've found. They'll tell you about the prayers they've prayed, the forgiveness they've extended, and the boundaries they've established. And they'll ask for your partnership in continuing to guard your relationship against any future entanglements that could threaten the purity of your connection. Number 8. Your faith is activating their courage for complete vulnerability. The unwavering faith you've maintained during this season of waiting and preparation is literally activating supernatural courage in your soulmate's heart, giving them the strength to be more vulnerable with you than they've ever been with another human being. Your faith isn't just inspiring them, covering them spiritually, and creating an atmosphere where complete honesty feels safe. Your soulmate has been watching how you trust God even when you can't see the full picture. They've seen how you Worship in the waiting, how you praise through the silence, how you remain hopeful when circumstances seem discouraging. And this level of faith is foreign to them, beautiful to them, and incredibly attractive to them. They've been in relationships with people who panicked at the first sign of difficulty. They've been with people who turned bitter when things didn't go according to plan. They've been with people whose faith was conditional, dependent on getting what they wanted when they wanted it. But you're different. Your faith is unshakable because it's rooted in who God is, not in what God does. Your peace comes from knowing that He's working all things together for your good, even when you can't understand how. Your joy comes from your relationship with Christ, not from your circumstances. And this kind of faith is creating a supernatural covering over your soulmate that's breaking fear and releasing boldness. They're feeling courage they've never felt before because they can sense the prayers you've been praying. They can feel the spiritual atmosphere you've been creating through your worship and intercession. They can sense that you're the kind of person who will respond to their vulnerability with grace, not judgment. Your soulmate has things they need to tell you that they've never shared with anyone. Dreams they've been afraid to speak out loud. Fears they've been embarrassed to admit. Desires they've been scared to express. Visions for the future that seem too good to be true. But your faith is giving them permission to believe that maybe those dreams aren't too good to be true. Maybe God really does have something beautiful planned for them. Maybe they really can trust you with the deepest parts of their heart. Your faith is demonstrating to them that you believe in God's ability to do exceedingly, abundantly above all we could ask or think. And if you believe God can do that in general, then maybe you'll believe He can do something miraculous in your love story too. Your soulmate has been hurt by people who promised to love them no matter what, then left when things got difficult. They've learned to protect their heart by only revealing surface-level information about themselves. They've developed defense mechanisms that keep people at a safe distance. But your faith is dismantling those defenses because it's showing them what unconditional love looks like. Not because you're perfect, but because you serve a perfect God who loves perfectly through imperfect people. They can see Christ in you. They can see how your identity is rooted in being God's beloved, not in being someone's choice. They can see that your security comes from knowing who you are in Him, not from having all your questions answered. And this kind of spiritual maturity is making them feel safe enough to remove all their masks and show you who they really are. When your soulmate confesses everything to you, they're going to share things they've never told anyone. They're going to reveal dreams God has given them about your future together. They're going to admit fears they have about not being good enough for you. They're going to express desires for intimacy, partnership, and family that they've been too scared to voice. They're going to share visions they've had of the ministry, the business, the legacy you'll build together. And they're going to ask you to pray with them about these things because they've seen how powerful your prayers are. Your faith has been creating miracles in your own life, and they want to be part of that miracle-working power. They want to combine their faith with yours and see what God can do through to people who truly believe He is who He says He is. Your soulmate is preparing to be completely transparent because your faith has shown them that vulnerability is not weakness. It's the pathway to true intimacy, and they're ready to walk that pathway with you. Beautiful soul, your soulmate's confession is closer than you think, but remember that God's timing is always perfect. Don't rush out of this season of sacred solitude before He's finished the work He's doing in both of your hearts. Trust that every day you wait is another day of divine preparation. Every moment you spend alone with God is creating the spiritual foundation that will support the love story He's writing for you. Your soulmate is coming, and when they do, they're going to pour out their heart to you in a way that will leave no doubt about God's hand in your connection. But until that moment comes, rest in knowing that you are loved, you are chosen, and your story is unfolding exactly as it should. If this message touched your heart, please subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. See you in the next video.